welcome back, viewers, to the PI show. We're talking to Bronwyn Hooper about her misadventures with a general surgeon in a breast reduction scenario and also medical negligence in general. Alice, we were talking before about the different procedures that were available to the surgeon. Can you elaborate briefly what they were?
Tony, essentially the case was based on the fact that there are several procedures available to a doctor to perform on someone who's having a breast reduction. And our argument on Bronwyn's behalf was that out of all those procedures, there was really only one that was safe for her because she had a very large reduction done. She had 1.5 kilos taken off each breast. And we argued that a certain procedure should have been performed, but unfortunately the defendant doctor performed a different procedure which was much riskier. And whilst it was a procedure that the doctor was very comfortable with, it was a very risky procedure which unfortunately ended up in complications for Bronwyn.
Oh, you know what's really mystifying about all of this? 4 experts, professors and all, have said that she shouldn't have done that procedure. And why wouldn't she settle out of court?
Oh, look, we're not sure. Look, there's a lot of motives why people run cases or settle cases, so, you know, we're not 100% sure, Tony. But Bronwyn, sort of there's a lot of people involved in the case. So there's the barristers on your behalf, the cross-examination, the judge. How did you find the judge in the case?
I found the judge to be very fair and he knew a lot about medical terminology.
Well, that's one reason he did, is because he was a leading barrister in Victoria on medical negligence before he was elevated to the bench. So
he did a lot of cases.
He did a lot of medical negligence cases. I think towards the end of his career as a barrister, he specialised in medical negligence. So I think that's all he did. So it was very helpful to get him to be the presiding judge. There was no jury in this case.
No, there wasn't.
Judge alone. And it was... And how did you find the defendant in the case? What was your impression?
I found her to be arrogant and she avoided eye contact. Every time you try to look at her, she would turn the other way. She just wouldn't look at you.
Well, look, each case has its own dynamic and, you know, it was a long, protracted case. You were there every day?
Yes, I was.
And it does tire people out, and I suppose towards the end you were exhausted.
Yes, I was.
Did you, at the end of the case, were you confident or reasonably happy with the way the evidence had come out?
Yes, I was confident with the way the evidence was.
And were you confident that the verdict or result would be in your favour?
I was unsure, but Mr. Jules felt fairly confident.
So his advice was you probably had succeeded?
Yes.
Okay.
Bronwyn, sorry, Harry, can I interject? If there's a lesson to be learnt out of this, what is it? You know, personally, what would you have done differently if you had a second time round?
I would most probably go to another doctor, make sure that I knew all of my options, not just be given one option and only one option only, and know what their qualifications are.
Okay. And you weren't really 100% sure about this particular doctor's qualifications?
No.
I think Bronwyn relied on the GP. There was the referral by the GP who referred you to this doctor.
Correct.
And, you know, most people rely on a GP to refer them to, you know, what's an expert in this area. And then, Bronwyn, at the end, the judgment came out on the 19th of July. Were you in court when the judgment came out? Or?
Yes, I was.
Yeah, so it must have been a great relief to you.
It was. I was
end.
very ecstatic.
I think it was a relief for everybody.
And a relief for everyone. Yeah. Once you're always a bit uncertain. Every lawyer, I think, is a bit uncertain until a verdict comes out, and then, you know,
I think that's the hardest part of the job.
Sometimes,
after all these years in practice, the only thing that ever caused me any angst is waiting for a verdict
to come out. Sometimes you're confident, and sometimes you can detect some comments by the judge, you know, in the course of running, but ultimately they're difficult cases to succeed in medical negligence in Victoria. So, and were you aware of the sort of legal arguments? Were they completely foreign territory?
No,
Did it make sense to you?
It all made sense to me.
Did it?
Yes.
Yeah. Because there's a breach of what's called Section 59 of the Wrongs Act.
That's correct, yes. And Harry, Section 59 essentially says that if you're going to allege negligence against a doctor, you need to have what's called peer opinion or peer agreement that that doctor has done something wrong. So you need to get other doctors in the same profession to say, well, if I was going to do that kind of procedure, I wouldn't have done it that way. I would have done it a different way, or they can point out something that went wrong on the day or something like that. And in Bronwyn's case, we were...
How many witnesses, how many doctors stood up in that case?
We had 4 doctors, 4 plastic surgeons who looked at this case and who were all unanimous on one point, and that was that the wrong operation was performed on Bronwyn.
So, Alice, can I ask you this? Assuming this doctor had performed the alternative procedure
Yes.
and it went wrong, what's your view then?
The
Just to
view,
be
it's a very
concerned,
difficult
yeah.
thing to tell because no operation is without its complications. That was made really clear during the course of the trial. But I think Bronwyn would have had a lot better chance, at least, of having a good outcome. And had we ended up in court
But
over
if it had gone
complications,
wrong, the prospects of succeeding would have been a lot
Much
harder
less.
for the simple
Yeah,
fact
was
that
it-
the peer
Reviews.
would have said it was the right procedure.
That's right. Other doctors would have said, well, I would have done the same procedure. I can't see really what was wrong with that choice. So it would have been a much more difficult case to run.
And Bronwyn, how did you find the defendant's expert? I mean, I think she called one expert to give evidence.
That's
She
correct.
did.
How did you find that expert? Were you following it? And
I was following it. He didn't seem to have any expertise in the operation that she performed, and he was relying on a document going back to 2008.
okay, and but I think there was a document mainly from overseas, from America.
It was from America.
From America
correct.
that really doesn't have a lot of relevance to Australia. I think that was pointed out.
Yeah, something
by
during
the
the
judge.
course of the trial, the judge pointed out that it was all very well to rely on a document from America, but Section 59 says it must be Australian opinion, and so it didn't help the defendant doctor as much in that regard.
Bronwyn, what prompted you to see lawyers? You went down to Tasmania, is that correct?
Yeah.
I did. The 2 GPs that I saw, Annette Douglas and Diane King, they both suggested that it was medical negligence, and would I be happy if it ever happened to anyone else.
And how long after the procedure did you get their advice?
6 months.
Okay. So it's been a pretty protracted sort of an experience for you, hasn't it?
It has.
Sorry, Harry.
No, but and I think the other thing we probably should mention is that you didn't lose a lot of time off work. I think you're a pathology. You're still working as
No, I'm currently not working at the
okay,
moment.
but in the past you've been a pathology collector, so you're
That's
able
correct.
to drive and be able to move around and things
Yes.
like that, even though you're going through a very hard time. So you didn't lose a lot of time off work,
No.
and you didn't have a lot of extra medical expenses.
There were some
There's
medical
some medical
expenses.
expenses.
A lot of it was covered by the private health insurer at the time. So it was more about Bronwyn's pain and suffering rather than her medical expenses.
Well, at the end, the judge awarded the sum of $125,000 as pain and suffering for all you've gone through and all you will go through in the future, which, you know, it's a range of things. We've got opinions about that, but perhaps, you know, that's what the judge awarded. So
Probably
he heard,
discounted by maybe some past.
he heard all the evidence,
Yeah,
Tony, and you know, it was not an excessively high,
no,
it's
I
not
wouldn't have thought
excessively
so.
low. It's somewhere in the range.
In the
But that's what
range.
the court awarded, and that's what the judgment court is. That's all we got time for at this point in time. Thanks very much, Bronwyn, for taking the time to come and
Thank you
talk
for having me.
talk to us about this, because I think your attitude was it shouldn't happen to other people.
Exactly. I don't want to see anyone else go through what I've gone through.
Thanks very much, and we'll come
Thanks,
back after the
Bronwyn.
break
Appreciate
with
you coming on board.
Kathy's mailbag. Thanks, Alice.
Thank you, Harry.
Been
Thanks,
very
Tony.
helpful.
Thank you.
Very enlightening. We'll be back after the break. Thank you very much.